Muchachos, Santa Harley here. This is the second video today. And you know how you can tell it's a different video? Because my tassel's on the other side, man. You guys didn't pick that out? Come on. You gotta be with me on this. Let's be together. Let's be one. Topic today with all of the music genre mixing going on is a question I've been asked a few times on some other formats and this one as well, is what are my musical influences? Um, it's a long involved story. Um, I grew up listening to my parents' music, which Jim Reeves, The Carpenters, Johnny Horton, Johnny Cash. I think my mom had a copy of Don Kirshner's rock concert from the 70s somewhere with Eve of Destruction on it, and that was the hardest rock song that I had heard until a cousin of mine moved in with us. My pops had his own business, and a cousin of ours moved in with us and was working with him for years until he moved back home. But he brought out Kiss and Boston's first album and end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s, and he introduced me to Rush's 2112 album that he just bought new. I've been a monster Rush fan ever since that day, man. As a matter of fact, this Christmas I got the 2112 anniversary set. But yeah, that what he opened me up to was something that stayed with me for 40 years. It's been with me my whole life. This rock and roll thing just absolutely set off a spark in my head that hasn't left. I've been a huge music fan since then and continued to buy LPs and all. I went to CDs for a while. I'm kind of back to LPs now, depending on the process to record them. But yeah, that's kind of it. So yeah, I get into Kiss, Destroyer, Boston's first album. He wasn't into Van Halen, though he did go to my first Van Halen concert with me after my friend Jamie in high school got me into them. And yeah, that was Van Halen was a bit much for Alec, who was my cousin at the time. But yeah, some of the other stuff that he had given me just sparked everything. I went out and started buying Queen and Prism and all kinds of just Tom Petty's older albums when they would first come out, and started following Tom Petty and a lot of the bands. Prism, I followed Prism religiously, I guess. Prism, if you're not familiar, band out of Vancouver, Canada, southern BC. Ron Tabak was the original lead singer in Prism back in the day when they first formed, and Ron was out for a bike ride one night, and in Vancouver, in Burnaby, somewhere in the lower Vancouver mainland area, and he fell off his bike and hit his head, and police arrested him and threw him in the drunk tank thinking he was hammered, and he died in prison, died in lockup, I guess, which I guess is a whole other video on policing skills. But anyway, Prism was never quite the same after Ron Tabak left. But Bryan Adams used to write huge for them. Bryan Adams used to write huge for a lot of people until he started recording his own stuff. But a lot of the songs, that Prism recorded, and God, who's Joe Welch, I think, recorded a Bryan Adams song. There was a bunch of artists that recorded Bryan Adams songs, and him and Jim Valance were just kind of an Elton and Bernie type of thing going on that just sold their music. But then Bryan decided to tour. I saw Bryan Adams' first tour actually with, God, I think it was Loverboy. I think the first time he played live, he was supporting Corey Hart as well back in the day when he was just coming up. Sunglasses at Night. There was another Canadian band. Speaking of Canadian bands, Corey Hart and Prism and the like. There was a band out of Toronto called Goddo. Greg Godovitz. Oh God, Greg Godovitz, Gino Scarpelli, and I can't remember the drummer's name for the life of me. Shoot. Sorry. I'm going to do a quick search here. Watch this. I think Greg Godovitz is still around. Yeah, they were out of Scarborough, Ontario in 1975. I went to see Goddo when they opened for Toronto. And the thing for me was I was such a huge Goddo fan that I sat through the Goddo show, and I left when Toronto started because it was so disappointing. I had seen Toronto before though. So yeah. But yeah, Goddo were interesting. They were a three-piece band. Greg Godovitz was bass and vocals. Gino Scarpelli was guitar, and oh God, Marty Morin. That's a name I'm seeing here. I didn't think that was the name of the Doug Inglis. Doug Inglis. That was it. Doug Inglis. Sorry, Doug. I totally forgot your name, brother. Anyway, yeah, they dropped Who Cares, and that album blew my mind. But a lot of their stuff was just. I've actually have a lot of their LPs still remaining. I remember going to a concert, and I actually wrote the band a fan mail, I guess, to Greg's mom. Was the thing where you sent this fan mail back in the day. And Greg Godovitz wrote a yellow lined piece of paper and took a full 8.5 by 11 and wrote me a note back, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't have that note today, but I don't think I do. I've got so much stuff packed away that it could be anywhere. But yeah, that was kind of a cool thing for a kid who liked a band. But yeah, so yeah, that's kind of where it went with me. And I started going, I've never been a huge metal guy. I mean, metal for me is, I guess it starts with older Metallica, that type of thing, and starts to branch off into, harder music. Do I want to say Megadeth? Never was a big Megadeth fan. But I don't want to say Slipknot either. That's too far the other way. But anyway, yeah, you kind of get the gist of it. There's a lot of great bands out there, and I'll listen to just about anything. I love the fact that I guess I was brought up with more of a country, easy listening type music, but I really latched on to rock and roll. Never pop music, not at all. And I got to say, that's got to be a lot of why I'm such a huge Greta Van Fleet freak these days, because these guys have kind of brought back a music from my youth. When I'm a late 60s kid, right? So that's what they were listening to. They're 30 years younger than me, but these kids are playing the music that I started listening to when I was growing up, and there's a few differences. I never did listen to Zeppelin, by the way, if we're going to make that moronic comparison, but I really enjoy their music. I enjoy there's a lot of new rock music that's coming out now. I've seen them Vibes. Who I was listening to the other day was Brothers Osborne. They're kind of a country band. They're like how would I describe Brothers Osborne? A rock band that plays country. Very talented guitar player, man. Their songwriting skills are second to none. And they played locally here, and the Foo Fighters played, I think it was the next night, and Dave ran into them in the bar in the hotel, and they ended up going up on stage with the Foo Fighters the next night when they played here. And they did a Tom Petty tribute, which I thought was really cool, but some of the work they did during playing that song was really impressive, so it just kind of got me to check them out. But yeah, that's the thing, man. You're raised with what you're raised with. If you stick with it, cool. If you don't stick with it, you plow your own way, you walk your own path, and good for you. Get out there, listen to as much as you can. You're not gonna like everything, but check it out and expand your horizons. It's great stuff. Music is a beautiful thing, man. It truly does soothe the savage beast. That being said, all my love fans, click the Click the subscribe link below. Click the little bell. Get a little notification every time I drop one of these goofy things that are a total waste of time that not a lot of people really care about. Anyway, peace, hope, Happy New Year. All the best to all you guys in 2019. The music's only going to get better, man. Take care. Love you all.